It's Shootin the Bull, a podcast by Idaho Department of Fish and Game.
Football season, man.
Yeah, your team's looking good. They're young.
Yeah, we're young, but yeah, a lot of freshmen on the team, and I'm excited to see those boys move up through the ranks, and I think this year, kind of a rebuilding, if you will, and we're going to start into it next year, with a full team of good, strong kids. So
nice.
Yeah, so I'm excited.
So when does the season start?
So we started practice 2 weeks ago. Our first game is the 29th, so I guess a Friday from tomorrow.
It's soon. It's coming up.
Coming up.
Yeah.
When you say you coach, I mean, like, are you like a specialized coach, like special teams, offense, defense, or
I'm
head coach?
I'm pretty much the lineman guy. We've got a good mix of coaches on the team, and they pretty much let me control the big guys in the middle.
Sweet. Were you a lineman? Did you ever play football?
Yeah, I was a lineman in high school, yeah.
What a position?
I played offensive tackle and defensive end.
Oh, sweet.
Where were you, Connor?
Left guard. That was my freshman year. Varsity was long snapper for 3 years.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been on the backside of you then as the
you would have bull rushing me and put me on my ass.
Well, I meant on the backside of you being the punter for the team.
You punted too?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were a lineman and a punter?
Yeah, as a defensive end. My senior year, I was offensive tackle. My junior year, I pretty much played defensive end, and then did a little bit of punting when coach allowed us to punt.
You must have some leg on you then.
Yeah, a little bit.
Did you always have to practice like kicking it off the side of your foot, like a soccer player?
Right off the right side of the laces. Try to get that nice spiral.
Oh man, that was always the most stressful part of any football game was getting off a clean punt and a clean snap.
Sure,
you'd screw up the game real quick.
Well, I was in band in high school, so I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know anything about what you guys are talking about now. We didn't even have a football team where I grew up.
Come out at halftime.
Yeah. That's what everyone was there for.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Finally, the football game.
That's when all the entertainment starts, right?
Yeah, exactly. Does Mackay have a pretty sweet band?
We do not have a band.
No.
We have a music program, but we're such a small school that we don't have like an actual marching band or anything like that.
Okay. All right. Shootin the Bull. We're here with Steve Roberts, conservation officer in the Upper Snake region, and sitting right underneath the shade, which is quite nice. This pole barn that Tom Talley, one of our engineers, built, is also sitting here with his trusty dog, Ava the Wonder Dog. Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming all the way up to Mackay. All three of us, really. I mean, you don't live in Mackay, do you, Steve?
I live just south of Mackay.
Okay, so a little bit of a commute to get up here.
Yeah, about 8 miles south of Mackay, so it's about 20 minutes or so to get here to the hatchery.
Okay, so yeah, Steve Roberts has been a conservation officer for 19 years. Is that right?
Yep.
And 10 of those are in Mackay.
Yeah.
Or not Mackay, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, the Mackay Patrol area. Yeah, 10 years here in Mackay. Yep.
When they assigned you the Mackay Patrol area, were you excited? Were you scared? Did you have to look it up on a map?
It was no. So I was excited. I actually started my career as a trainee here in Mackay, as part of our FTEP program, the FTO program. So I already knew, kind of the valley, a little bit about the valley. And
what does that stand for?
FTEP.
FTEP, yeah.
Yeah. So field training and evaluation program.
Okay.
So it's as a first year officer, you go through a whole bunch of different training, and most of the time after the police academy, you're assigned to a patrol area. Then you go to the police academy. After graduating the police academy, you go to the FTEP program, which is a 10-week evaluation program. Basically, they send you to 3 different parts of the state. You work with that officer. The assigned officer for 3 weeks at a time, and that's the kind of the last hurdle, if you will, to get off probation and be a run your own program conservation officer.
At that point, I mean, do you already know that you're going to be a CO and work for Fish and Game, or is it like, oh, I could still be a cop, police or like a city police officer, or is it like, no, I'm
You're pursuing that path specifically at that point.
You're in that program. Yeah, you've already been offered a job. You know,
Okay.
you get a conditional offer of employment. You're assigned a patrol area, you know, told where you will get to live for the next, you know, X amount of time, and then go through all the, you know, that first year of your employment, you're pretty much in training the whole time.
Okay.
What was it like becoming a new CO? You know, is it, you know, are you excited? Are you a little nervous? You know, being out here on your own, it's a big area, right?
Yeah,
1,300 square miles.
Yeah, it's a big area. The nice thing about here at Mackay is I was already, you know, a well-seasoned officer. When I started in 06, I was assigned to the Jerome patrol area. So I started in Jerome, you know, worked in that patrol area, mainly focusing on the Snake River there. And then when Chief Wooten took his first promotion to become a supervisor, I moved from Jerome to Fairfield, filled in behind him, and stayed in the Fairfield patrol area for about 7 years. So the first 8.5 years or so, almost 9 years of my career, I was in the Magic Valley region, and then got an opportunity to come here to at that time Region 7.
Oh, really?
So when I moved to Mackay, the Mackay patrol area was kind of split responsibility. All the enforcement stuff was out of the Salmon office. I was a member of the Chalice district. Made that move to work with some guys that I've known for a long time and was real excited about it. And then about 7 months later, they kind of redrew the lines. We redistricted.
Yeah.
And they told me that I was going to be moved to the Upper Snake region. Little bit of trepidation because I hadn't ever worked with anybody in the Upper Snake region.
Right.
You know, on any, you know, kind of long-term anything. I knew most of them.
A lot of new faces.
But yeah, the new guy in the district kind of forced, if you will, into a new district. It was, you know, a little trepidation, but it's been nothing but a blessing.
Yeah. So when you got the job, were you thinking like, were you just trying to work your way up to North Idaho at some point?
No, so I'm, you know,
based on your trajectory, you know, like
being born and raised in Mountain Home there, I'm a desert guy. I do love the timber, I do love the trees, but I really enjoy the wide open country down here in South Idaho, and the move to Mackay was really just a family decision. My wife was commuting to work, living in Fairfield. There's not a whole lot, you know, for a spouse to do. And so my wife was commuting over an hour every day to get to work. And
in Mountain Home?
And she's actually going to Haley, Ketchum.
Oh, okay.
Going into the Sun Valley area there, Wood River Valley.
Let me guess, she's a nurse.
She did work at the hospital.
Okay, yeah.
She was a home health administrator. So she actually had her schooling for surgical technology to work in the surgery room.
Yeah.
But we were too far away from any hospitals for her to.
Yeah, it'd be a little hard to be on call when you're an hour away.
Yeah, they wouldn't let her be on call, so she had to figure something else out. So she started working in the home health stuff.
Yeah.
Mainly just administrative stuff.
How you liking Mackay now?
We love it. Yeah, we love it.
You said you started out kind of in Jerome, that area, working the snake.
Yep.
Were you more like of a water patrol down in that area, and then moving more to like a terrestrial-based patrol here?
Yeah. So in Jerome, I was actually called the River Corridor Officer.
Okay.
Which was a new title I think they were trying out.
Yeah.
They had changed some patrol areas around a little bit, and a big part of my primary focus was the Snake River, whether that's, fishing, sturgeon's a big deal down there. So, checking a lot of sturgeon anglers, a lot of waterfowl opportunity, a lot of recreational stuff. So, I did a lot of stuff on the river itself, but, as a conservation officer, as a game warden, our job is so diverse that, you can't really ever get tied into one thing. The river is a part of it, but I also had, game preserves, shooting preserves in the Jerome area there that I was kind of oversaw, and we got a lot of, public land, deer and elk and pheasants and, sage grouse, all that stuff down there on the Snake River Plain. So a lot of it was in the river, but there's also a ton of other stuff on the, on the dirt, if you will.
Okay. So you were kind of splitting your time a little bit even down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Up here, it's a lot more dirt than water, as you guys see looking around you here. We still get a lot of water stuff here with Mackay Reservoir and the Big Lost River, but
sure.
She's looking a little low this year, though.
She's low. Yeah, she's low.
I was going to ask because I've never come up this time of year up that highway, but is that pretty? I mean, it's a reservoir, so it's drawdown, but is that pretty typical for it to be this time of year? Is it lower than average?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit lower than average, but that is pretty typical. It's an irrigation impoundment.
Yeah.
So that water is allocated for irrigation water. So that's pretty common. This is generally about the time of the year that we start to see some fall storms and some rain and even snow up on the high country, and we'll start to replenish things here. By about October 1st, we'll start to see the flows start to increase coming into the reservoir. Yeah,
very cool. If you're hearing wind and flowing water and stuff, it's not like we're not quite sitting by a river, but we're seeing fish jump. And this is our very first podcast with the headsets. Also our very first podcast outdoors. So, Steve, this is pretty sweet, man.
That's awesome.
For those of you listening, though, I mean, we're here in Mackay, Idaho. You've probably seen it on the map, but if you're only picturing Idaho maps via hunting units and Onyx and stuff like that, pretty much smack dab in the middle of Unit 50 is your patrol area. And with Mackay Reservoir kind of like the bullseye, kind of in the center. Yep. So for folks listening, trying to look up where we're at, we're sitting right outside the raceways here at the Hatchery. I don't think we're ever going to beat this view for a podcast, man. Yeah. Geez, Steve, you could have a Chevy commercial right now with just your truck sitting there in the Lost River Range.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is cool. We have another podcast lined up tomorrow, but this is our very first out of doors podcast. This is pretty sweet. It's pretty cool to just be able to plug in, and
one of my favorite spots in Idaho.
Yeah, well, don't tell so many people that, Tom.
Oh, well, if you're listening.
Tell us a little about the area, Steve. I mean, you've been here 10 years. You've lived in Idaho pretty much your whole life.
Yep.
Had you been to Mackay before you started up here? And what are some unique things about the Mackay area, the Lost River Range, and Copper Basin?
What makes patrolling this area maybe unique?
Yeah. So prior to being a conservation officer, I'd never been to Mackay. Kind of an interesting backstory. Everything always comes full circle. I guess it'd be my great granddad actually had a farm here in Mackay.
Really?
That my dad would come up here and work in the summers, and I think, if I remember correctly, Dad last came up here when he was about 12 or 13 years old was the last time that he had ever been to Mackay. Huh. But I'd never been here prior to 2006. When I got into the training program and was stationed here for a couple weeks. Mackay's it's a unique place. We have, in Idaho, there's 9 peaks over 12,000 feet, and I get to look at 7 of them every day that I go to work.
That probably doesn't get old.
Yeah.
It doesn't get old. It gets a little sour about February when we've already had 5 months of winter.
Yeah.
But yeah, the office that I get to work in is pretty special.
I'd say so, man. We're taking full advantage of it right now. Let me ask you this. So say I poached a golden eagle up at Mount Borah.
Yep.
Who's responding?
One of the 12,000.
Yeah. Highest point in Idaho.
Yep.
Who's responding to that? You? Is it Matt Cahoon? And are you hiking all the way up there?
Yeah. So if it's at the summit, I'm going to be calling for backup.
Probably from the feds at that point too.
Yeah.
Bald eagle.
Mostly.
That was a golden eagle.
Golden eagle. Okay.
Mostly because the Lord made me 6'5", and I don't do good with heights. So I
calling back up right around Chicken Out Ridge.
Yeah, I would. Actually, our district, our enforcement district, just climbed about 2 weeks ago. They made made a district climb, and
Oh, cool.
And
Just for fun?
just for fun. Most of our district made it. Everybody that climbed it made it to the top, and
Like a hazing thing, or like
no. Just let's go torture our knees and climb the highest peak in Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you done it before?
I have not, and I didn't. I'm actually the only one that didn't climb.
Didn't do it?
I'm with you, Steve. I'm not going to do it in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I know I have it in my brain that I'm going to get to Chicken Out Ridge and turn around. So I just can't see myself spending all that effort just to quit.
Yeah.
A third of the way from the summit.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the eagle's at the top, I'm calling a couple of my district mates that love hiking mountains.
Yeah.
And I might, to be honest, I might actually call Matt as well and see if he wants to take the mules halfway up at least. And,
Yeah.
And and gain some elevation on the donks. But
Yeah.
We were just looking around when we got here and thinking about patrolling such a large and rugged area. There's other parts of Idaho that might be more easily patrollable by vehicle, whether it be dirt bike or truck or whatever. But there's probably a lot of places here that motorized vehicles aren't allowed or just physically can't get into, right? We've got
a lot of my patrol area that you, even on a horse or a mule, you're just not safe going up a lot of that stuff. It's very rugged. It's very steep. The steepness and the looseness of the substrate is definitely the dangerous part.
Yeah.
There's probably about half my patrol area that I don't have radio or cell coverage.
Oh man.
So I've got an inReach with me, most of the time, and we use those quite often. But yeah, I've got very few motorcycle trails. I've got a handful of ATV trails. But everything else, the road's in the bottom, and you hike up to the top.
Yep.
Dang. Do you have a least favorite peak in this area?
I don't. No, I think Lost River Range is it's such a special formation of mountains. It's just not. You can't really look at this and imagine you're anywhere else. In Idaho.
I know.
It's definitely different than every other mountain range in Idaho for sure.
It reminds me a lot of the South Sierras, where the mountains themselves are super steep, but then they have kind of this bevel to them where they're not. It's not like the mountains just drop straight off into the valley and then it's flat.
Yeah.
Like we're looking across here at all these. I'm guessing a lot of that's BLM, but there's a little pivot field over there. It's all on a gradient.
Yeah. So we call that the fan.
The fan.
So everything that kind of. It's almost like looking at a river. It flows down from the foothills. These little coulees and ridges, and dry creek washes here and there, and every once in a while you'll get a little patch of mahoganies and cedars and stuff that flow down. It's
incredible.
Hills.
I like the terrain that you guys are talking about, but I feel like the colors of this range too are just a lot more distinct and unique.
Sure.
Than some of the other ranges throughout Idaho. They all have their personality, right?
Yeah.
I really like the colors, especially right now. It's about 7:15 p.m., kind of that golden hour, and the lights just hitting them.
And kind of smoky too.
Yeah.
It's kind of muting all those colors.
We got a little bit of haze that blew in this last couple of days from a couple fires on the western side of Idaho, and I think there might be a big one in Oregon as well.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask if you guys have been seeing any fires pop off in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, we've had a lot happening, but everything around us has been kept it at pretty small. We got the bad thing about the Mackay Patrol area is we don't have much timber. There's not a lot of there's a lot of sagebrush that can burn, but typically if we get a fire that started, they can keep them fairly small.
Yeah, I found that out. I brought my chainsaw hoping that we would be able to knock down a couple lodge poles or something tonight for our little fire here, but nope. Just sagebrush.
Not many options.
That's it.
We did get an offer from our gracious host here.
Yeah, I'm going to set him up right now. Actually,
let's get him connected.
Christian just walked up and joined us. Welcome, Christian Brown. We're going to be by now you've probably already heard the episode that we did here at the Mackay Hatchery. So Christian's voice isn't going to come as much of a surprise, but he just wandered down from his domain up there at the top of the hill. So Christian, thanks for joining us, man. it's good to have another voice asking Steve all these questions. Sorry, you're way outnumbered now, Steve. But at least Christian knows you really well and knows the area really well. But along those lines, man, did you grow up hunting and fishing?
I did. Yep. Yeah, I had we were really really well versed in the outdoors growing up. A lot of fishing, a lot of hunting. I pretty much was raised on wild game and fish, and it was a very important part of our diet when I was a kid.
Did you know you wanted to be a conservation officer from an early age?
I did. I've got so I'm one of our state instructors, what we call an FTO, a field training officer. And when I get a new recruit, what we call a PO, a probationary officer. Probationary officer is, one of those guys or gals that's in the first year of their employment. I always tell them that everything that we do in life, we should have a why. And my why started when I was 9. I actually knew our local game warden pretty well. He was hired, just a couple years before that. I think maybe a year before that. He started in '88 there in Mountain Home, and because we were so active in the outdoors, we saw him a lot and got to know him on a first name basis. And I remember at 9 years old seeing him at the truck stop there in Mountain Home. Now the Pilot, used to be called the Gear Jammer. We went into the Gear Jammer probably for dinner or something. They always had a buffet there, and his truck was in the parking lot with 2 bull elk in the back.
Yeah.
Bloated, heads had been cut off.
Yeah.
And we went over there to talk to him, and at 9 years old I didn't really know what poaching was, but he told me that those 2 bulls had been killed so that somebody could take their heads. And me being young and and naive and innocent, and also a kid that grew up eating elk meat a lot.
Yeah.
I just couldn't understand why somebody would shoot an elk to leave it on the hillside, and I told my dad that day that I was going to be like Jeff when I grow up.
Wow, that's so cool.
So that families would have elk meat on the table, and I didn't really know what that meant. And for the listeners, you guys can see, like you guys sitting here, I get goosebumps every time I talk about it, because it's like it was that profound in my life. Like it made, it completely changed my outlook on what a game warden was, and what a game warden does for a job.
Well, it must have been a profound impact, because you were so young to follow that through and have it be kind of a dream come true.
Yeah.
Get to do that every day. That's really cool.
I'm one of those guys that is lucky enough to do my dream job every day.
Yeah.
That's a question I always like to ask the RCOs is like, how do you really define like the intrinsic value of wildlife and fisheries in the state? And I mean, that story kind of sums it up, where you're seeing it firsthand, and you're seeing the I guess negative side of it. It's hard to put like what the intrinsic value is.
Yeah.
And even bigger than that, I mean, look at the experience that you had with another conservation officer at a very young age, and how that's passed along to someone. That value. That's really cool. That's another full circle almost, right?
Yeah, and the thing that was, for me, that was, hugely important and so valuable is Jeff stayed, in that town his whole career.
Yeah. He's a member of the community.
Yeah, he had, a different patrol area, but he never left that town. So even when he, took a different patrol area and moved across the highway for work, he still had his house in town, and we still saw him, at the local pond, and we saw him at, at CJ Strike, and we saw him on the Bruno. We saw him up in, on the South Fork of the Boise when we were up in Pine and Featherville. And, he was there his whole career. And so I actually ended up having a really special relationship with him. And, it made a huge impact on my life.
Well, seeing him out and about has to be a really good quality of a good CO. It's like, they're out there, they're patrolling.
Making contacts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that a rare thing for a CO to stay in one place? I mean, maybe back then I was 88, but even now you've been with the agency 19 years. Do you see a lot of COs staying in the same place, or do you see them kind of bouncing around more?
We don't see a lot of COs that stay in one place for very long. And I guess when I say very long, I'm, like an officer staying in a patrol area for 10 years. It's not uncommon, but I think a lot of that happens later in your career. I've got a family, kids that are in school now, and for me to uproot that and go somewhere else is harder than it was when I was, 26 or 28, and it's just me and my girlfriend, and we could kind of bounce around. And so I think a lot of the newer folks, the newer officers, do move around a little bit. We do have some officers that have been, in the same place for a long time, but we've also got, a few officers that have, been on 4 or 5 patrol areas now at 15 years of service. They're in their, 4th area that they've worked, and there's benefits and drawbacks, and to both of those, types of lifestyles and outlooks. But yeah, having Jeff there for, his 30 plus year career was definitely important to me as a kid.
Yeah, for sure.
Did Jeff give you the opportunity to do any ride-alongs or anything like that prior to you becoming part of the department? So
I think with me, because I was so active in the outdoors, I didn't really ever do anything that's like ride-along specific, like we would think of as a ride-along. But I had a lot of those types of interactions with him. We would see him at a check station. We always had the big check station up on Highway 20, and we'd see him up on the check station, and we'd stay there for an hour and just talk to him, and got to see what he did, just kind of from the sidelines, if you will. And
he's like, "All right, kid, I got like 15 other bucks up here."
Yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out, and bugging everybody there, because I just thought it was such a cool thing that everybody did. And,
you were into it. I know a lot of people are avoiding.
Yeah, they're like, God, I hope it doesn't see
any kind of law enforcement. Yeah, exactly. But
did you have other buddies too that, like, when you were, like, obviously you're 9 years old, did you have other kids or buddies that were like, oh, I kind of want to go into enforcement, or I have the same like appreciation for wildlife?
I had several friends that had kind of the same appreciation for, hunting and fishing, but nobody that I was close with that was like, if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it, kind of thing. But it's a very common thing, when I'm out and about, you check somebody, and I don't want to say it's once a week, but it's probably once a week. That's like, man, you got the job that I always wanted.
Yeah.
That's something that we do hear a lot.
What's your favorite memory of patrol in the Mackay area?
I've got a couple really good cases that, that we were able to get through, get prosecutions on, and they definitely kind of rise to the top of the list. It's probably, 4 or 5 years ago now. It's crazy how time flies, but I had one antelope case that just started out with a set of tracks in the mud, kind of one of them September rainstorms, and I was out patrolling the next day and saw some tracks in the mud going out through the sagebrush. I know there's no road there. They're just cross country, through habitat, and typically when we see that stuff, there's, those tracks always lead somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I, parked the truck and went on a little walk, and those muddy tire tracks ended up taking me to an antelope carcass.
Oh man.
That had been shot, and by this time I was.
Could you tell it had been shot right away?
Yeah, so I knew it had been shot by. So archery season was open at that time.
Okay.
I knew it had been shot by something, but real quick, I had a suspicion that it had been shot by a rifle. I do a lot of archery stuff. I shoot 3.
You're not going to drive up on an antelope and shoot it with a bow.
Yeah, for sure. The tire tracks, on the enforcement side of things, like the tire tracks more than likely were after the fact, right? But you just kind of start putting the puzzle together, and when I saw the carcass, it what we would call short-quartered as a conservation officer. We would say it was short-quartered, meaning somebody was in a hurry.
Yeah.
They didn't take all the parts and pieces that they should have. They left a big portion of a backstrap that was bloodshot. It obviously had trauma in it. The hide for all of the legs. So the animal laying there, the rib cage, the back, everything still had the hide on it. They had
Do they
done the
spine it when they shoot it?
gutless method, right? So they had not gutted the animal. The guts are still in it, but they had taken the 4 quarters and the back straps off. And when I saw that level of bloodshot, as a guy that's killed several antelope with my bow, it just didn't look right.
Yeah.
And so I did a little bit of digging and really quick found a kind of an oblong circular hole in the hide, and instantly called our regional investigator and said, "Hey, I got an antelope that's been shot by a rifle." We were able to scoop that whole thing up and take it down to a vet. We have a couple vets that we work with closely. Did some x-rays and found, I didn't find any bullet fragments. There was nothing metallic in the carcass itself, but there were several broken bones that indicated, possibly a firearm related injury. Nothing matched up for an archery related injury. And so,
and even if this wasn't poaching, there was enough left that would have been cited for some sort of a waste.
Yeah. So that's kind of what started the whole thing off. Is even if there wasn't a firearm related injury to it, I got other problems that were already there. But yeah, I was able to start building a case and doing a lot of digital forensics type stuff, and as it turns out, kind of just good game warden work. I had been working in that same area, kind of general area, about 10 days after that. So archery antelope season's open, archery elk season's open, and saw a truck coming down the road, and I saw an elk in the back of the Razor on the trailer. Just kind of pulled over and waved, and guy pulled over and flipped around to behind him, and just a consensual contact. "Hey, I see you got an elk," and said, "Yeah, I saw you looking at it. I figured you'd want to check me out." Like, "All right, well, let's look at your stuff." And in the course of talking to him in the field, looking at his bow, looking at his arrows, asking questions about his hunt, the conversation of, "Yeah, I killed an antelope just over here about 2 weeks ago too."
Interesting.
And
You don't say.
and instantly my ears kind of perk up and start asking him a couple more questions about his antelope hunt, and I left that contact.
Why was he so brazen about it if it was out of season?
So season was open, right? But he just killed with the wrong weapon.
Yeah, okay.
So,
But did you? So how does this conversation go? Because usually, I'm asking like, "Well, let me see a picture," right?
sure, yeah. So I didn't get into the picture stuff because as it turns out, if you just kind of recall what I said about his antelope, as I'm looking at his elk in the back of the Razor, I've got 4 quarters that still have the hide on them.
Yeah. So you're putting 2 and 2 together here.
I've got back straps. I don't have a tenderloin. The antelope, because he did the gutless method, he left the tenderloin in the antelope. He did not retrieve that as required by law.
No tenderloin in the elk, you said?
No tenderloin in the elk. So everything's kind of fitting together as a very big coincidence.
Maybe he just doesn't like the taste.
And that's very possible.
of the left back strap.
So through that conversation, I was able to build, what I thought was enough information that he's probably going to be my prime suspect in that antelope. And if that antelope was shot with a rifle,
He had no firearms or rifles on his.
he actually did have a firearm with him.
So it's another piece where it's kind of like, why do you have this during archery season?
Yeah, exactly. So he pulled his bow out of the Razor, out of a soft case, and there's 2 soft cases in there, and I, well, what's that other one? Oh, that's my coyote rifle. You'd be surprised how many coyotes I see when I'm out here hunting. Like, oh yeah, cool, okay, and I don't want to, I didn't want to tip him off. I don't want to ask questions that are too pointed, but I want to fill in some story. So, through that whole contact, he did receive a citation for the waste of the tenderloin. He received a warning for evidence of sex. He had quartered the elk off, and he didn't leave any evidence of sex.
In a hurry.
Again, in a hurry, right? He's trying to get out of there before anybody can catch him.
You're almost trying to rule this guy out. So you're trying to ask questions that, like, okay, I can move on. Like, this isn't the guy.
Yeah.
But he's still checking all the boxes.
He keeps filling in more boxes. And so, he kept talking long enough that I thought I had a pretty good idea where he killed that elk at. And so I, like I said, he got a citation and a warning. I kicked him free. And instantly, 3 seconds later, I'm on the phone with my supervisor and my regional investigator. Like, hey, I need you to do some digging for me.
Yeah.
Here's this guy's name, date of birth, address. See what you can find. I'm going to go try to find an elk carcass tomorrow. And sure enough, I was able to find his elk carcass the next day. And it had also been shot with a rifle in the neck.
Wow.
So, yeah, couple conversations with the prosecutor and the judge, and we got a search warrant, and we're knocking on his door, and we ended up getting a pretty decent conviction on him for taking a bull elk during the archery season with a firearm, taking a buck antelope during the archery season with a firearm, waste on 2 different animals.
Yep.
There was a lot of things wrong there that I think I just got lucky and was on the right road at the right time, and was able to make that case through I guess good game warden work. But
Heck yeah.
But also, it sounds like this guy was a pretty prolific.
Lazy, sloppy.
He had an MO for sure.
Yeah. So probably would have been caught at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
If he's doing it that often and that kind of blatantly. I mean.
Yeah.
Steve,
That's pretty brazen. 2 animals during the same archery season with a rifle.
Yeah.
When there's archery season up here is a very popular thing.
Yeah. How, in your experience, man, with 19 years, like, how many poachers are right place, wrong time, or wrong place, right time, however you look at it, versus like they're just chronic poachers? They see an opportunity, they see something on the side of the road, screw it, like, I'm going to go after that.
Sure.
Versus like I'm on a pretty much a legal hunt, but then there's
everything
has
has an element of opportunity to it. I think.
Yeah, but that's what I'm like. What percentage of people that you've investigated are people that are they're just bad apples? They're out here trying to just do whatever they can, and
versus like the one person that can't pass up this one opportunity, kind of thing.
Yeah, so we've got in the grand scheme of things, it's really no different than most things in life. It's like less than 10% of the people in my job are the ones that are breaking the law, right? Most often, when I see somebody fishing, I see somebody hunting, they're excited to see me, they're happy to see me, they're showing off their deer and their elk, and they're asking for tips on how to catch those fish that are in the river, and it's a very positive thing. Our detection rate is somewhere around 10%, of all anglers and hunters and, recreational folks on the landscape. Less than 10% of them actually break the law.
Yeah. If
we're, using the word poacher, I would say that number is so much smaller than that 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Poaching is a very defining word, right? Most of the folks that we interact with have made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the violations that we encounter, you didn't cut out the notches in your tag correctly. You get in a hurry and you don't leave evidence of sex on an animal.
Right.
You shoot at an elk.
Not that it's okay, but it's not as blatant.
Yeah, it's still a violation, right? We're still dealing with all of those. It's a a breach of state law.
But it's more of like an honest mistake.
But it's a mistake, right?
They meant well.
It wouldn't meet the definition of poach.
Right.
The poaching stuff that we deal with is fairly small.
Mm-hmm.
I would say under 3% of the animals that we, deal with, with my experience would say were poached. There are some guys, there are a small population of the public that their intent is to go out tonight and kill an animal. Sometimes it doesn't matter if it's a buck or a doe. Sometimes it does matter. Sometimes they only want to shoot the biggest bull that they can. And, and I don't know what drives those folks other than, greed and ego. A lot of it, I often think that it's like they don't have the skills to do it without poaching them. They're not willing to put in the work that most of our folks do. They cut corners, they use a spotlight, they go out at night, whatever that might be, to try to cheat the system, if you will, and kill that animal before anybody else gets a chance to. And those are definitely guys that are poachers, and a lot of those fall in the category of serial poaching.
Steve, when you were growing up in Mountain Home, did you run into other circles of people like that, or I wouldn't call them friends, but acquaintances that may have teetered into that world, or they were those types of people, and you were obviously coming from a really ethical place from being 9 years old. What was that relationship like with those people? Was it hard to have those kinds of conversations with kids?
Thinking back, I don't know that I really had. I don't know that I really recognized it at that time.
Okay.
We
maybe more in your teens then.
Yeah. So we hunted a lot. And I have some friends there in town that they got a deer every year, even though they weren't really capable of getting a deer every year.
Right.
Those things definitely happen. It's kind of funny. I feel like I had a pretty safe, ethical, childhood, but we ate a lot of big game. We ate a lot of fish, and one of the first questions that that came up when I was hired was, did we hire you to catch a couple family members? And we all just kind of joke about it. And, there's definitely some gray line walking, when I was a kid, because like I said, we needed meat for the freezer. And
looking back, you don't know, if there was a little blurring of lines, maybe everything was above board.
Yeah, and to be honest, at that age, I didn't know what the term party hunting was. It's like we went out as a family and we hunted. And I didn't. I personally never put my tag on something that I didn't shoot, but there was a lot of people around hunting that we killed deer and they all came home.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing ever came home without a tag on it. But those lines when you're a 12-year-old kid. Definitely, I just don't think I understood those kind of interactions at that age.
Yeah. But you've obviously pursued this as a career for so long. You've been interested in the ethics of it, doing everything right, and that's really cool. And it's really cool for you to follow in the footsteps of the CO that made such a big impact on you growing up, that you can maybe be that person in your community now. Yeah,
I definitely try to be that guy here. I think there's definitely a difference between a small town game warden and an urban game warden. I have personal interaction with most of my community. When I show up at the school to pick up my daughters, I got 10-year-old boys running out wanting to say hi to me. And I remember those same interactions when I was a 10-year-old boy. And and I know that makes a difference.
Well, being here so long, you've seen a lot of those kids grow up, and now maybe you're checking them at a check station or whatever, and you have this sort of relationship built being in the community for so long.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really, really cool.
It probably goes both ways, though, wouldn't you say? So if you're in a small community and you have this problem, And it's kind of hard to, see new faces or kind of branch away from that person. You're kind of stuck both at work and outside of work because you're such a tight-knit community.
For sure. Yeah. I definitely have my little circle of folks here in town that I hang out with. It's definitely a law enforcement thing in general. You do this job long enough and you build mistrust in people pretty easily. And so I've got my little core circle of friends here in the valley that we hang with. And, the flip side of the coin, being a small town game warden, when I get a call and they tell me that it's this vehicle, it's like, oh, I know who that is.
Yeah.
I know who that is. And I'm going to, I've got a job to do. I'm going to do my job.
Yeah.
But it may be somebody that I've already had a very personal interaction with somewhere in the community that now they're being investigated and versus the urban game warden where, you might write, 100 citations a year and never see that person again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Justin Williams. Do you know Justin Williams?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
We talked to him, I think last November, and he told a really great story because he lives in Salmon, patrols the backcountry just west of Salmon. And he told a story of where, I think it was a generator or something that went missing in Salmon proper. And they investigated or whatever. It was a poacher as well, but the guy, the way they tipped him off was that it was a generator. And lo and behold, it turns out it was his next door neighbor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's like, I know that truck.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he was like, oh, that guy lives right here.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how that stuff can just pop up in your backyard.
It definitely can.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been several calls. You get a what we call a hot call. Something comes in on the Citizens Against Poaching hotline, or one of your locals. Everybody's got my cell phone number. Everybody knows where I live. They knock on the door. They give you a call on your cell phone, whatever, and it's like, hey, I just saw this happen, and here's the truck, and it's like, I know right at what address I'm driving to. And everybody's got their own situations that they live in, but you kind of get to know those certain trucks that are kind of always out there doing wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was another thing Justin mentioned was and it kind of goes with the CAP hotline because it's you with the CAP hotline, you want to point out very, very specific details. Does the guy have a soul patch? Does he have some American flag banner on the back of his back window? Stuff like that you're noticing. He had mentioned there was this crazy bald eagle holding the American flag decal on the back of his full window. That's a tangent, but what are some of the other calls that you get here locally in Mackay, from people? Or I'm assuming it's not oh, I have a wounded fox squirrel in my front yard. What do I do?
You'd actually be surprised.
Oh, really?
I get the full gambit. I've got grandmas with a skunk in their windowsill.
That's a fun call.
I've got
there should be what's your favorite call and what's your least favorite call. Skunk in the windowsill.
Yeah, that's gotta ruin your day.
Yeah, badgers underneath my shed. Mountain lions eating my chickens. On top of all the enforcement related stuff. That's the other. The other thing about being a small town USA officer. Yeah. When somebody's got an animal that they think needs dealt with, I'm the first person that they call.
Sure.
You're the wildlife guy for anything.
So it's the same up here as it is in Boise or it is in Nampa or
It definitely
Salmon.
is.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely is. The only difference here is I don't have a biologist or a technician that's close by that gets to deal with the roadkill.
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing. The office is a good hour and a half, hour and 45 across the desert. So a lot of times those calls all come directly to me.
Okay.
Never a dull moment.
Yeah, there's always something.
What's the weirdest call you've ever gotten?
Honestly, one of the weirdest call I've ever got, and it actually happened just this summer. I had already done almost a full day's work. We were working the reservoir and working the river, and we'd put the boat on the reservoir, and I had a partner with me that day, Isla, our officer down here in Arco, and she had broke away, and it probably wasn't half an hour after she left, I get a phone call from the sheriff's office Says, hey, I don't have a deputy available. I just got a call about a naked man down at your fishing access. Can you respond down there and see what's going on? It's like, yeah.
Do I have to?
I guess I will. So I jumped on the computer real quick and looked up the indecent exposure codes and got my my quick little education on what I had to follow up on. And
you're like, I never thought I'd have to look up this code.
Was this one of these cases where you knew who it was before you went down?
Yeah. And so then you do a quick little bit of research and like, all right, I got it. And drive down to the fishing access and here's a truck and a camper there and there's a gentleman sitting in a chair that
reading a book.
I don't know what he was doing other
playing
than
a guitar.
He just waiting for the heat.
Working on his tan.
Yeah, waiting for the heat to dissipate because his truck kept overheating, and so him and his wife or girlfriend or whatever they were just hanging out and
literally.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, he sitting in the chair, I thought he was naked. Which, as the caller thought as well, when he pulled up there, the person that reported it had, obviously stopped at fishing access to go take a look at the river. And here's this gentleman that appears to be naked sitting at the, sitting in his lawn chair
spot,
just right there at the access. And as I, started asking questions, he did stand up and he was wearing
just like flesh-colored shorts or something.
Yeah, they were hot pink, but as he was sitting down, you couldn't really see him. This little string bikini thong-looking bottom. That
probably wish there was a citation for that at that point.
Yeah, he was definitely working on basically a full body tan.
Yeah,
and not indecent. He was covered.
Yeah. Okay.
What did you say when you walked up to him? Were you just like, "Hey, I'm clearly I need to turn around right now. The call came in."
So I'm just kind of upfront and honest with folks. Like, hey, how are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Officer Roberts, Idaho Fish and Game. Hey, I'm just coming down here because I got a report of a naked man at a fishing access. And I understand that this might not be a comfortable conversation, but we need to have a conversation. And it was definitely one of the stranger ones that I've dealt with in my 19 years.
What's your most common violation?
As much as it is a surprise, fishing without a license is a very common violation that we run into. We have lots of violations that we deal with. If it's summertime, most of the time it's fishing without a license.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of an emphasis earlier this summer, and in my district, I think we wrote 22 fishing withouts in a month period.
Wow. What do you think that is? Is it just people, don't want to take the time to buy it? They don't fish often enough. They're thinking they're just going to go out for a day.
It's the day after free fishing day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I got the date wrong.
Yeah. It covers the spectrum.
Yeah.
A lot of the times you talk to somebody and it's just a quick, simple excuse like, well, I didn't plan on fishing today, but I'm here with two of my buddies, and it looked like it was fun, and so I grabbed the rod.
They weren't catching anything. I figured I probably could.
I didn't think I'd see you today.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't think I'd see a CO.
Yeah, exactly.
We get
day off.
We get that quite often. Yeah. I didn't think I'd see you guys down here today.
Yeah.
So they'll risk getting a ticket to avoid buying the license, which is
$35. Yeah.
The ticket or the license?
The license.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so your license, if you're a resident state is anywhere between, $20-something dollars for a youth and $30 for an adult.
Way better than a ticket.
The citation is, so in most of the state we have, what we call payable misdemeanors. So fishing without a license is a misdemeanor crime. It is an arrestable offense. So somebody could potentially go to jail if they, didn't act appropriately, I suppose.
Sure.
But yeah, you're looking at, $191 minimum as a payable payable misdemeanor.
That's enough to hurt. Yeah.
Yep. It's
Buy the license, guys.
Expensive day of getting skunked.
Yeah.
Been there. You've talked a lot about Mackay, man. I want to switch over to fishing real quick.
Yeah.
What's the deal with this old 4.6 stars on Mackay Reservoir on Google reviews? Someone put lots of bugs.
Oh, and that's supposed to be bad for fishing?
Well, no, 4.6 is pretty good, but I don't think most of those people are fishing.
So why not 5?
I don't know. That's just what it says on Google. But talk a little bit about Mackay Reservoir, man. What is it? I mean, obviously that's kind of like the one big.
You patrol that as well as like the land around it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So
probably not hiking up to Alpine Lakes every single day, in the upper rim of this basin.
Yeah. So we definitely do some high mountain lake patrols, but Mackay Reservoir is obviously the most common fishing related patrol that I would do. I should just say Big Lost River proper, which Mackay Reservoir sits in the middle of it, would be the fishing related patrols that we do. Mackay's interesting. It's this time of the year right now, it looks like kind of a big mud hole because it's really low and, you got the big mud flat up there. But even when it's low like this, the river coming into the reservoir can be really, really good fishing. And then the reservoir itself, Christian sitting right here, kind of a testament to our hatchery folks. We get a lot of broodstock fish from different places that end up in our reservoir. And then all of our, our in-house hatchery stuff, fingerlings and catch bowls that we're putting in there, multiple times throughout the year that they grow really well in Mackay Reservoir.
Is that mostly rainbows?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly rainbows. We get an errant fish that may have washed out of the raceway from time to time. I checked a guy with a grayling in Mackay Reservoir a couple years ago.
That's pretty cool, though.
We've seen some browns. We've seen some cuts.
Yeah.
What's the busiest time of year at the reservoir?
Right now is kind of the summertime. If you're, if you're targeting, we're kind of just past the prime right now because the kokanee are kind of the target fish out of Mackay Reservoir.
Okay, really?
It's
not Mackay's not that deep, is it?
It's deeper than what it looks.
Is it really?
80 plus feet at the dam.
Wow.
I can swim. I can dive to the bottom.
You kind of got that big mud flat, and then it just drops into a big deep hole out there.
Yeah.
And our kokanee do pretty well.
In that little hole?
Yeah. In the whole reservoir, it's low right now, but it would have been full pool earlier this summer, and those fish would have had the whole reservoir to swim around and eat and grow.
Yeah. Really? I would not have thought of kokanee.
Our kokanee are just now getting ready to run up the river and spawn.
Cool.
I just fished them two Fridays ago, and they were just barely starting to turn a little pinky color.
Yeah.
Still mostly silver, but starting to get that pink hue to them.
How'd you do?
We did well. We fished for about 2.5 hours and came home with a dozen 14-inch kokanee.
Nice.
Or 10 14-inch kokanee, and then
nice.
A couple 8s and 9s that would be our 2-year-old fish.
That beats any of my best days. I don't know about you, Connor.
Oh, any day.
But yeah, a couple years ago, we were catching 17-inch kokanee out of the reservoir, and
wow.
If you think about, kokanee are just a landlocked sockeye salmon,
right?
When those sockeyes come out of the river, and make it to our sawtooth hatchery, they're 22-inch sockeye is a pretty decent sized sockeye. So we're catching 17-inch kokanee that never left the reservoir.
Right.
Yeah.
The reservoir's really popular during the summertime for bank fishing and boat fishing.
It's another unique aspect of being the CO here in Mackay is the fishery. You got to be up on a lot of rules.
Sure.
To patrol this area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself a better angler or a better hunter?
I would say probably a better hunter, but I definitely enjoy fishing a lot too, and I cover the whole. I don't discriminate. I'll catch them on a fly, or I'll catch them, with a worm on the bottom, I'll do anything to catch them.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Yeah.
You fish here at the raceways too?
Yeah. A net,
Christian's looking at his left feet like, no, don't go there.
That's the nighttime patrol.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. You ever have any like crazy like wildlife tracking or trafficking cases around here?
I haven't had anything super close to home on the trafficking side.
Yeah.
Never say never.
Yeah,
right?
sure,
There's always things that are happening that we don't know about.
Yeah.
We have definitely had some of that stuff happen in the region. Both sides of me, whether it's out of the Idaho Falls office or the salmon office.
Yeah.
It does happen. It is happening.
And you're right there on their thoroughfare, right in the middle.
Yeah, it definitely happens. I think the only kind of limiting factor here in the Mackay Valley is a lot of private property in the river bottoms.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of the deer and some of the elk hang out. But for you to get, up off of the river bottom and go poach a deer, we're such wide open country. We've got a lot of people that are watching and have actually got a really, really good group of folks here locally that if they see something wrong, they're going to be making a phone call to the cap line, and that cap line is invaluable to us during the fall.
I was going to ask, man, so do the majority of your cases come from cap calls or just calls from the public, I guess, or is it more you like boots on the ground, like that pronghorn where you're just out in sagebrush country looking for whatever?
I think definitely more of our calls come from public input than me boots on the ground, right? So the map shows that I got 1,300 something square miles, but it's actually about 1,800 if, internally we've kind of redrawn some lines.
Yeah.
So we've got the Big Lost River, and this is pretty much all of mine, right? Then I've got an officer that lives in Arco. She does cover some of the South Desert stuff, but she's responsible for the entire Little Lost drainage. Mm-hmm. And then we've got another officer that lives in Manan Roberts area. He's actually a brand new officer. He's just now starting that field training program at the tail end of his first year.
Oh wow!
He's got Birch Creek, Medicine Lodge, Crooked Creek. He basically covers from Birch Creek all the way to I-15.
Wow!
So
again, these areas don't have a lot of roads.
No, not really. No, yeah.
I mean, there's like BLM stuff, but it's not like. Let me just go and just pull onto this little gravel road and just do a quick loop.
We've got a lot of roads that go to one specific place.
Right.
Well, Christian was talking about, it took him, I'm not going to point where it was, but 3 hours to do how many miles? 20 miles
as
maybe?
the crow flies.
If that, to go to Pass and Merriam.
Oh yeah.
Going through Double Springs. It's big country back there.
Welcome to craggy BLM Lost River Range country, man.
Yeah. So rough. between the three of us, we've got 624, 625, and 626, our patrol areas. Yeah. We're covering about 7,200 square miles with three of us. And it definitely doesn't go unnoticed. The public definitely understands that we are not everywhere at once.
Sure.
And because we're covering such vast areas, like even in my patrol area, which I have a lot of roads compared to some of our neighboring patrol areas. If I'm, up here at Willow Creek Summit, Arnson Gulch, doing an elk patrol or whatever, looking for a goshawk nest or, there's lots of different things I could be doing up there.
Why would you be looking for a goshawk nest?
Just for our non-game program,
Really? No, I'm curious, man. What is that?
We've got wildlife biologist is just kind of a general term.
Yeah.
Right. We've got population staff. We've got habitat staff. We've got non-game staff. We've got, folks that personnel that focus on, deer, elk, and antelope. We've got
very specific areas, right?
Yeah. A lot of times, like we've got Cade in the region. His focus is large carnivores.
Yeah.
He's a wildlife biologist, but Bowen. Yeah.
Okay.
So his specialty is grizzly bears.
Yeah.
Right.
This time of the year, he's focused on grizzlies.
Yep.
The hell is he doing all the way out here?
Well, anything
Are there
that's
grizzlies in Mackay?
no, but
Not yet.
anything that's related to our large carnivores, Cade would be kind of the go-to guy. So, when I get a phone call about a mountain lion eating chickens, Cade's one of the phone calls that I make.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And vice versa. If he gets a call about a mountain lion at the office, he gets a call into the regional office about a mountain lion here in Mackay. He's going to be calling me and saying, "Hey, I got a report of a mountain lion. Do you know where this property is at? Do you know what do you know about the homeowner, the landowner?
Yeah.
The general area. And all of our wildlife staff do that. Like I'm boots on the ground. I'm out here every single day. They are not here every single day. So, when we just put a bunch of radio collars on antelope a couple weeks ago, and leading up to it, our population staff, wildlife biologists, were calling me saying, "Hey, can you get us some points, GPS locations, so that we're not just flying around in a helicopter at $800 an hour?"
Yeah, while you're out there.
Yeah.
Looking for antelope, And so, same thing. We get a phone call about a goshawk nest. Goshawks are important. They're on the radar. So if we get a phone call about it, I might be the guy that goes up Arnson Gulch to look.
Has happened to see some, somewhere, and you know where they're at. Yeah.
This is just a side, but why are they important? I'm curious because we saw one when we were shed hunting in the Waihes.
Yeah.
So saw one, but heard one.
Yeah. So goshawks are definitely less populous. We don't have as populated areas with our goshawks that we do, say. Red tails and those kind of things. And goshawks are also they have a very specialized habitat that they live in.
Are they migratory?
That I don't know, but because they live in specific habitats with in a lot of areas, very small populations. When we do find a nest, a lot of times it's important to document that nest.
Yeah. And they have a really distinct call.
They do.
So you can almost hear it when you're just like walking through the woods, but you don't almost half the time you don't know what it is unless you're using that
the
app.
Swainson's Thrush app.
No, no, not the Swainson's Thrush app.
Yeah, once you know what it is, you'll always know what it is because it's a very distinct call. But yeah, just things like that. I'm up at Arnson Gulch.
You're not just doing law enforcement activities all the time, right?
No,
you're doing you're wearing a lot of different hats.
Yep,
you're
sure.
Coordinating with our wildlife habitat biologists on, again, being boots on the ground, seeing what you're seeing out in the field. So that's really cool.
Yeah. So, back to the, to rewind a little bit there. So my patrol area being such a vast area, if I'm up at Arnson Gulch, dealing with that, documenting that goshawk nest, and I get a call about a poached antelope, down by Craters of the Moon. Mm-hmm. I've got probably close to 2.5 hours of drive time just to get to the general area before I can get on a side road and then try to figure out where I need to go. So there's big area.
When you get that call though, Steve, is your day pretty much shot at that point? Are you just like, you get the call at 9:30 or 10 and you're just like, well, here I go. I'm going down to Craters of the Moon today, or I'm going up to Arnson Gulch.
Yep.
Is it pretty much like that's now my full day?
It really just depends on the day.
Okay.
If it's in the fall and we're in big game season,
because I can just imagine your job, man. You're just out you're out doing your route, you're patrolling your typical areas, but then all of a sudden somebody gets a call whether it's the CAP hotline or it's the regional office, and they're like, hey, we need you to run up to so and so Gulch.
Yeah.
There you go. You're off. And, that you might not be able to get to A, B, and C the rest of the day or even
probably hard to prioritize things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you definitely triage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So we are going to prioritize certain calls.
Sure.
Everything has a weight to it, if you will. Right. If I've got a call about a 4-wheeler on an illegal trail and a call about an antelope that's been shot and left to waste,
or a wounded squirrel on the highway.
Yeah, that one's last, right? I'll pick that one up as I drive by.
Exactly.
En route to the antelope call.
Yeah.
Right. So we do prioritize. We try to do the best we can, but there are a lot of times, especially during the fall, when we have hundreds and hundreds of people in certain areas, thousands of people
flowing in from
in certain
out
areas.
of the area. Yeah.
There's a lot of times that phone call ends with, I truly appreciate you making the call. I will get somebody there as soon as I can.
Yeah.
If you call my cell phone right now, it's going to go to voicemail because I put it on silent.
Yeah, you want people to call.
I want people to call, but like sitting here tonight, right now, if you call my cell phone, it's on silent because we're here doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to go to my voicemail, and my voicemail says, due to the nature of my job, it may be a day or more before I can get back to you.
Right.
And that's just simply because if I'm in Copper Basin, I have 0 cell phone coverage. I might be there, for a day or 2 or 3, depending on what kind of job or task I'm trying to deal with. When I get out, I'm trying to deal with every voicemail that I've got.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to triage, and sometimes we just can't get to stuff.
That was the excuse he gave me when I asked if you wanted to do the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out of service for 4 days.
No, it's got to be hard. I mean, you've got all of this this training to be a law enforcement officer, but you have to be so many different things other than that. You've got to be your own personal call center. You got to be a dad, a husband, a coordinator with these wildlife biologists that need information from your region. So, yeah.
Well, a lot of the COs we've talked to so far have said they've come from a background like where they were studying wildlife biology, and for whatever reason, they just like, well, maybe I'll go into enforcement.
Yeah.
And so they already had that wildlife background, whereas you had like you were born and raised in Idaho, you were hunting. Yeah. And you knew you wanted to be enforcement. It's not saying that like to be a CO, you have to go through the biology sciences round, but
probably helps.
Yeah. But it's like, but also like you already have the boots on the ground experience.
Yeah.
Being just being a hunter since 8 years old or whatever.
Yeah. So to back up a little bit, we do require that you have that biology background, right? We have, during the application period, we don't have the same requirements as a wildlife biologist,
right?
But we do have a requirement for natural resource sciences. I believe we're at 12 credits right now. I think, don't quote me. When I was hired, you were required to have a degree.
Yeah.
I think we backed off on that, and we've kind of went back and forth on whether we're just going to require a certain number of credits in upper division wildlife sciences or natural resource sciences, or we're going to require a degree. But that requirement is in place because, as you said, I'm not full-time law enforcement, right? I get up every day and I put on a badge and a gun, but there are a lot of things that I do in my job that it's not enforcement related.
Right.
In the springtime, I'm doing sage grouse lek routes. We're helping electrofish with our fisheries folks. We're doing all this other population, biology, habitat related stuff that if you don't have that science background, you're just kind of left out.
Yeah.
You have to understand, when we start talking about population dynamics and, and habitat this and habitat that and, all those things, we need to understand what that means just for me to be a good employee.
Yeah. And working with others, just having the language, the breaking through that communication barrier, for sure. And then the passion too. You got to have the passion. You're doing this all day, every day, long days.
Yep.
What's been your longest day?
Ooh.
I know several days have been more than 18 hours.
Oh man.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember like what my longest week was, but I know I've been 74 hours in a week.
Golly.
Okay, we're not HR, Steve. We want to know, like, what's the story, man? What led to that?
Yeah, so
what happened there?
So a lot of that is just like vacant patrol areas, covering a lot of ground, and a lot of calls that just kept one after the other.
Was it hunting season?
Yeah, it was during the fall. So we have, officers come and officers go. We got a lot of folks that are retiring right now.
Yep.
So we've got areas that don't have an officer.
Yep.
And if it's one of my neighboring patrol areas, I can't say that we're required to respond to any of that stuff, but I have pride in what I do.
Feel an obligation to like,
and I'm not going to leave those calls, unburdened. And so I'm responding to those calls whenever I can. And a lot of that stuff, like the 16-hour day, the 18-hour day, those start out with, hey, let's just jump in the truck and go for a ride.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like you're expecting those days to be 18 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just things that come up, and, you have a plan for the day, and 12 minutes into the day, your plan is no longer a plan.
Right.
And you're responding to
everybody
something
has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You just learn to wipe the blood off and keep walking.
Keep going. So to that point, once you get into the fall, you have to expect a little bit of busier, longer days.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of your questions, Connor. Like, what do you carry in your truck? How does that change from season to season? How do you get prepared?
Yeah. So doing it this long, I pretty much always prepared for something. Even though it's summertime, I've still got a Manny in my truck in case I need to lay underneath the truck and sleep tonight.
Yeah. Right.
I've got something to lay on. I've got something to cover myself up. I've got something to lay body parts on. If I've got to do I get a call about a poached elk. I need some place to put that stuff, right, while I'm doing the investigation. So, I carry Manny tarps in my truck, at least one of them underneath the seat. I've got extra knives. I've got food with me. I carry a jet boil and a water press.
Yeah.
I can stop pretty much anywhere and get a drink if I need to.
Sure.
Carry some freeze dried or just I carry a lot of like fruit snacks and granola bars. I keep stuff in the back seat that if I need some sugar, I can pull over real quick and get
any Tootsie Rolls?
No, so I'm allergic to milk, so no.
Oh no,
no chocolate, none of the good stuff.
Right.
It's
that was Brian Merrick's hot secret was Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah,
is it? Yeah.
I carry a lot lot of fruit leather.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Fruit snacks, fruit leather.
The old 33-cent ones in the checkout lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But during the year, things in my truck definitely change. Right. So. I don't have game bags in my truck right now because we're just at the very beginning of big game season, but I will have game bags in my truck here pretty quick, And
do you have a name for your truck?
Say again?
Do you have a name for your truck?
I don't have a name for my truck.
No?
I don't.
I'm curious, man, as a CO, like, do the trucks change or is it like that's your truck? Like,
trucks have changed.
How often do they change?
So we're on about a 5 to 7 year rotation.
Per officer.
Per officer, yeah.
Okay, well, that's enough time to. I mean, you're in it every day.
Yeah. Is
there enough time to develop a first name basis?
Yeah, a relationship.
Yeah. What's your relationship like?
I've slept in the front seat a lot.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, there are times during the year that you open the door and everything just falls out.
Yeah.
And, the people that you're talking with, the only thing I can say is, sorry, I live in this thing.
Exactly.
And there are definitely times in the year that it gets a little crazy. But
yeah. Christian, do you have a name for your truck?
We don't.
Your taco over there?
No.
No?
We don't, unfortunately.
Oh.
I figured you would for the big trucks, at least have something for them.
No,
that's like your personal rig over there.
The 1 ton and the 2 ton, that's all we call them.
Yeah.
Okay. No, not the tanker truck, but your personal rig.
Oh, no.
No name for the taco?
Mm-mm.
Oh. Okay.
What's your
mine's Bridger.
Bridger?
The Nissan Xterra, but I don't. Do you
I don't think I have one for mine either.
No. We talked after we talked to Sam Alberto down there in the Magic Valley. It was like conservation officers name their trucks.
Yeah.
And it's like it makes sense. It's like you're spending all that time.
I like the idea. Yeah.
I mean, I my personal trucks have definitely had some names in the past, but I haven't ever named any of my department trucks.
Okay.
All right.
That's probably fair, man. It's probably good to keep it like a nice little like safe little barrier between like you and a state rig.
Yeah.
But what else, man? What else? What did we forget to ask you?
I don't know, man. It's I mean, if just like getting into like nuts and bolts of the game warden job. I think a lot of folks don't understand how diverse our job really is.
Yeah, if someone wanted to get into that, some high schooler or something, what are some insights that you can give as to like why to become a conservation officer?
Especially if you love like being in the outdoors, hunting and fishing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, how do you avoid burnout? Because I know a lot of people pursue their passion as a career, and it can lead to burnout.
It is kind of one of those unavoidable things. You do get tired of it, during certain times of the year. For me, I just always look for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. Every job that we have has those days that are really bad days.
Yep.
And for a law enforcement guy, those days, a lot of times are different from folks. A bad day for me is responding to a crash and putting a kid on life flight.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. And unfortunately, in our career, in my career, I've had to do that a few times. And those are bad days.
Mm-hmm.
An 18-hour day is a long day, but not necessarily a bad day. There are times during the fall that it all just kind of melds together, and you kind of forget what you're doing from day to day because you just don't have a chance to kind of recoup and regenerate and and take a breath and relax.
Do you still have those days where at the end of a long day, you just take a deep breath and go, man, it's pretty cool. I get to do what I do.
That's what keeps me doing it.
Yeah.
Right. I get to do what people pay to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to wake up every morning and do the job that I've wanted to do my whole life. And honestly make an impact.
Yeah.
I take it personally when I get a poaching call in my patrol area.
Making a difference.
I take that stuff serious, and all of our officers do.
Yeah.
But those are the things that kind of help me get through it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow's a great day.
That's got to be another thing too, is if you are someone that doesn't like doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
This is the job for you. You're never responding to the same call over and over. You might get it recurring, but every day for you has to be different.
The beauty of my job is I wake up and I make my own schedule every day.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
There are responsibilities that that we have as officers, as as conservation officers, as trainers, as whatever that your title is at that time. That you have days that like yesterday I was in the office at a training all day yesterday, but that's just another part of the job, and then I wake up today and I do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And most of the days I get to decide what I want to do.
It's pretty cool.
That decision a lot of times is responding to a dead elk or a dead deer or a truck driving where it's not supposed to be, but that's what I signed up for.
Sure. Yeah.
And on that same note, like speaking of schedules, is there anything you can speak to as far as work-life balance, things that you do that really help you kind of get through that and, keep those two things separate?
Yeah. So I, as we were starting out the podcast talking about, it's like during this time of the year, football is kind of my release.
Yeah.
I can't be at practice every day because I got a job to do.
Sure.
But I get to go, run around and be energetic and loud and, and interact with those young men on the football field, which gets my brain off of everything else that's going on in life. I've got an amazing wife that helps me with, do this job when things do get super busy. Luckily I was a game warden before, we got together. So she has only understood this lifestyle.
She knew what she was getting into.
She did. Yeah. And her dad, growing up, her parents own an outfitting company.
Okay. So she's in the lifestyle.
She understands the busyness of a fall.
Yeah.
From the outfitter side of things. And so, when you throw the enforcement side of it in, she's like, yeah, this isn't that different than, when I was growing up. I've got a couple, beautiful little girls that are in school now, and we play softball. They're in softball and volleyball, and so I, those are the things that allow me to say I'm not going to work this afternoon, or I need a break. I'm taking time off.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, when it, even without the family interaction stuff, as much as it pains me to say it, this is just a job. You know,
Yeah.
it's a lifestyle.
Sure.
It's a passion. You know, you don't become a game warden to make money.
Right.
You know, it's a passion. It's a calling, if you will. But there are days that it's like, I'm just not going to work today.
Yeah. Just need
You
a
know,
break.
I'm going to take a Wednesday off, and I'll pick it up on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and you just take a break and, you know, do stuff with your family. Take those personal
Well,
time.
you
personal
have to take
time
a
that
break
you need.
because the job isn't going to slow down. It's not going to, it's always
The job doesn't care if I'm on duty or not.
right.
You know, that's always going to be there. So yeah,
It'd be hard though, right? Like, so let's say it's 8 p.m. You're off work, and you get a call from one of our locals saying, "Hey, I need help."
Yep. I'm going
You're
most
going,
of the
yeah.
time. Yeah, that's the you know, if we have to bring up the downfalls of being a game warden, I don't get to hunt nearly as much as I used to
Yeah.
because I'm working.
Yep.
But the time off that I do get, you know, I take full advantage of it. You know, I've got a great group of guys and gals that I work with, and we just help each other out whenever we can.
Yeah.
You know, I drew a couple tags this year, and so when I, you know, want to take time off to go hunt, I know that they're going to cover what needs covered.
Yeah.
And if it's something that can be dealt with when I get back,
Yeah.
then I'll deal with it when I get back.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how those 16, 8, 10-hour days end up happening is you work your day.
Yep.
You know, I don't have an 8 to 5. I don't have a 9 to 6. You know, I get up and I go to work, and
Yeah. You don't know when you're coming home.
a lot of times, you know, that call does come in. You know, it doesn't even have to be 8 o'clock at night. It could be 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
It still takes several hours.
And that
your whole
investigation,
days.
I might not get home till midnight.
Yeah.
You know, and
Gosh.
or even the next day. You know, there's been several times that you get a great call, you get, you know, a great description, you get a license plate, and that call can't wait. You know, if you wait on that call, evidence is being destroyed.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, that animal is being given away, whatever's happening. And so you get that call at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you might be knocking on somebody's door at midnight
Gosh.
to seize an elk from their garage because you know it's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and so you just roll with it, you
Yeah.
know, and sometimes you just got to grab a hotel room or roll the sleeping bag out on the,
Yeah.
you know, out on the side of the road and catch some Z's. But, yeah, you just kind of learn how to deal with those things.
Has it gotten harder or easier over the years?
I think both.
Yeah. In different ways?
Both. The long days aren't as easy as they used to be. Right? I'm not 25 anymore.
You got a family?
Not?
I've got a family. I've got a bunch of other responsibilities, but I'm also not necessarily learning how to do the job anymore. I still learn every day,
Yeah.
but when I get a call, a lot of it's just automatic now.
Yeah.
You know, I've been doing it long enough that, you know, I just jump right into it, and those investigations are probably faster. You know, I can get through stuff, complete those investigations faster a lot of times now than I could have 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, you just keep building on that, you know, training and experience, and
yeah.
all of that stuff, you know, comes together for a benefit, you know. So
Do you find yourself like becoming harder at the job, like where you're just like less stuff just builds up on you over time?
yeah, I think yeah, it kind of just comes with the territory. You know, we often say that we do become jaded.
Yeah.
You know, I know there are.
We're mostly dealing with the bad things.
I know there are millions of good people on this earth, but unfortunately, I deal with a lot of bad people.
Yeah.
You know, and I shouldn't say bad people, right? But bad situations.
Right. Right.
My job, a lot of times, is to see people at their worst. So those things do kind of build up on you, but you know, then, you know, just an hour later, you have this incredibly positive interaction with a family that's out on the landscape doing, you know, the things that we love to do.
Yeah.
And you kind of forget about that bad experience. You know, it's always there. there are definitely experiences in my 19 years that I will never be able to get away from, right? Memories, interactions, experiences, putting a kid on life flight, responding to a call where a family is just at their absolute worst. Because we're in such a small population area, our local law enforcement has basically the same responsibilities as I do.
Yeah.
We are each other's backup, and so I have had to respond to domestics, suicidal subject calls, those kind of things that suicidal subject call. I showed up to that call. I've been to several of them, but one of them that I did show up to, when I showed up, I was by far the most experienced law enforcement officer there.
Yeah.
I had a deputy that had only been on for 7 months, and he, it's deer in the headlights.
This was probably somewhat of a community member.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah,
So
for
being
sure.
a part of the community.
And as it turns out, the gentleman that was having the crisis that night, I knew personally, and those calls, luckily, all ended on a positive side. I was able to talk him down, and get the weapon away from him. I guess I would say I helped save his life that night. But those kind of calls we deal with. It is what it is. I will never, I'm trying not to get super emotional, but that call was impactful on my life and my profession. It ended in a very positive way, thankfully.
Yeah.
But I still have reoccurrences of what happened that night with different experiences, and those kind of calls you can't get rid of, but then you couple those with incredibly positive interactions with so many members of our community, our community and our state.
That has to be the worst call that you get. What's you get a call and you're excited about?
I get excited about all of our wildlife calls, honestly.
Because it's something new every time, or what?
It is new every time. The circumstances are always different. There's very few of those calls that are kind of cookie cutter calls.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I take a lot of pride in enforcing the laws of the state of Idaho. For the citizens of the state. Wildlife belongs to everybody.
Yeah.
And any of those, those poaching type calls, I get pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
You find yourself, it's cop stuff, right?
Yeah.
I get to drive fast.
Yeah.
I get to turn on my lights sometimes, and I get to go interact with people that aren't doing what they're supposed to do.
And investigate, Yeah. All these investigation shows are so popular on TV, but you get to do it every day
in person. Yeah, firsthand.
Yeah. And usually there's not a lot, there's no witnesses.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of evidence probably.
Yeah.
So it's got to be really exciting. Every time that call comes in, it's let's go check this out.
From scratch, yeah.
What's the biggest thing that the public can do? I know you want to wrap this up. The biggest thing the public can do to help you and our other COs.
Sure. So, the importance of our public is just to be a good witness. Don't be afraid to make a call if you see something that you think is wrong. We have the Citizens Against Poaching, or what we call the CAP line. That 1-800 number is manned 24 hours a day. It actually goes to ISP dispatch.
And that one's anonymous?
You can remain anonymous.
Yeah.
The one thing for those folks that are listening to this, anonymous to ISP dispatch is different than anonymous to a case.
Okay.
Right? When a lot of times folks call in and they say, I want to remain anonymous. And so I don't have a phone number. They don't want to give a name and a phone number for me as a game warden to call them back
to get more information,
to get more details of what they saw.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like stuck with this one puzzle piece that doesn't fit the rest of the puzzle.
So it's like, I want to remain anonymous up to a certain point. Like, you can call me back, but I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. We tell folks, when I keep you out of a case, it's me personally as a game warden never giving up your information.
Right.
To suspects, to defense attorneys, to the court system, right? We want that callback number so that I can get all the details of that case.
But past that,
past that, if somebody is, I've had family members turn in other family members. I've had, we've had, husbands and wives. I guess I should say ex-husbands and ex-wives. Turn on each other and call stuff in, and and we understand those situations, and we can be very accommodating to that stuff, up to and including dropping a case if it comes to it. Right? I don't ever want to put somebody in danger over a deer that's already dead.
Right.
So, if we need to drop a case because it puts somebody in danger, we are willing to do that.
Yeah.
All of that information is good information for us. And if we need to catch that bad guy next year or 3 years from now, or, it's sometime in the future, we have those puzzle pieces already pre-built into the investigation of that character. So yeah, please be a good witnesses. The license plates matter.
Yeah.
As you guys can imagine, looking around at all this farm ground around me, if somebody calls and says I've got a white Ford flatbed, that does me absolutely no good. But license plates are important. How many people were in the truck? Is it one person by themselves? Is it a driver and 2 passengers? Was it a white Jeep with a hard top, or was the top off of it?
Yeah.
Those little details can become very important. And then always don't put yourself in a confrontation to try to help me with my job.
Yeah.
I take that risk by signing the line and walking the line that I do. That is my job.
Yeah.
We don't want folks to get in a confrontation. People have been hurt really bad trying to do something good.
Yeah.
Don't get in an argument match. Don't get face to face with somebody. Binoculars are our friend.
Yeah.
Get all the details that you can.
Yep.
And please call us and pass that information on. We do offer small rewards for information that lead to the prosecution of a case.
Yeah.
We do take that very seriously. We understand that reward's not much. Typically $250 to $500.
Yeah.
We can ask for enhanced rewards from time to time on a really stellar case, or somebody that was an absolute, rock star of a witness. We can do some enhancements on those stuff, but
sure.
That reward is just a small little token to say thank you. Go buy yourself a hunting license for the next 10 years with a $500 reward. For turning in a bad guy.
Yeah. Well, Steve, thanks for sitting down with us and just chatting about stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming out.
Yeah,
Totally.
Come out and sit in my office for a day and have a great conversation.
Well, thank you very much, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys.